welcome to my shop. Today I want to make a fruit bowl. I want to make an open segment fruit bowl, and I want to make it with a foot. I've got a drawing laid out here. I'm going to make it with 45-degree angles, kind of like an hourglass. I've got a drawing out here with it. I want to see if you can see that. Got the bottom ring. I've got the piece that goes in the middle, be a solid piece right in the middle. And then I've got the top ring. Those will all be Macassar ebony. And then I've got the open segments drawn in. And I'm going to use this as a guide to build it. Now all the segments here are all the same size, being as how it's a constant 45-degree angle. And they all measure about 1 inch. And I could use, normally I would use the edge of the material as the width, but with them being 1 inch, it's just too close. I like to have a little bit extra for errors, for room to work. So I'm going to rip off 1 1/4 inches and use that off of the pieces. And I got a pattern here I want to use. I don't know if you can see this good or not. It's going to be 16 segments per ring. I've got it drawn out here. Not much of a pattern, just a simple little pattern. I don't know how good it'll work. So you can see the pattern I'm going to try and make on it. Just a simple little thing. And I'm going to be using, like I said, Macassar ebony for the bottom, the top, and the middle. Now I've got some Macassar ebony I've bought. It's rough stuff. It's seconds. I got it real cheap. It's got cracks in it. I don't know if you can see them or not. It's got some cracks in it. It's got bad spots in it. But I can get good wood out of it, so I'm going to be trying to use that. I'm going to use Purple Heart. I got a good stick of Purple Heart. Already ripped some off of it. I've got Yellow Heart. I'm going to use Yellow Heart. This Yellow Heart ain't really too yellow, but that's what I'm going to use. And I've got a new wood I picked up. It's called Hormigo. I don't know how good it's going to work out. It's got kind of an interesting color, and it seems to be pretty hard. So I'm going to give it a try on this and see how it works. I'll find out, I guess. It's got kind of a nice color. I don't know. I only got 1 stick of it, so I ain't going to use it much after that. So we'll see how that works out. Now, first thing I want to do is get this centerpiece right here ready. That way I won't have to stop and fix the centerpiece. I'll already have it ready when I get to it. I'm going to start with the bottom and then work up, and then put the centerpiece in and work up again. Like I said, these are going to be 16 segments per ring and open segments. So I've got a piece of Macassar ebony ready for the center. What I'm going to do is put it in the coal jaws. Well, I think I am. Put it in the coal jaws. And I'll prep one side, put kind of a dish in it, and then make a smooth area for gluing segments on. Then I'll flip it over and do the other side the same way, and I'll put a groove right around the edge as a guide for the bandsaw to cut it out. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is prep this piece for the center. I've got it mounted. What I'm going to do is dish the center out a little bit, then make a flat area about 3/4 of an inch all around to take the segments, flat area to glue them on. I've got the center dished a little bit, got a flat area here, got it chalked. I'm going to take a sanding board now, make sure it's absolutely flat so I can glue segments on it. I've got it dished. I've got it flattened here around the edge, and I used the sanding board to get it absolutely flat. Now I'm going to turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. When I do the other side, I'm going to cut a groove right around the edge as a bandsaw guide when I cut the corners off of it. I've got it dished a little bit, and I've got a flat area here around the edge. Got it turned and sanded. Got a groove cut around to use as a bandsaw guide to cut it out. So now all I have to do is cut this piece out on the bandsaw and it'll be ready. I've got the piece of Macassar ebony ready for the middle piece here and a turning. And the next thing I'm going to do is make the very bottom ring. It's a solid ring. And we'll make it 7 inches in diameter, and the segments are going to be 1 1/4 inch wide. 1 inch would just barely do it. I'm making them 1 1/4. So this is the ring right here on the bottom, a solid ring, and I'm going to make the pieces 1 1/4 inch. It's 16 segments per ring. And I'm not going to show making that ring because I've already did a video on how to make the basic segmented rings, 3 different ways. So I've got the pieces cut now, and I've got them dry clamped. It's Macassar ebony. And if you want to know about this clamp I'm using, I got a video on how to make and use it too. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue this up. After I get this glued up, then I'll be putting it on a faceplate on brown paper. So let me get this glued up now. The bottom ring has been set up now for a little over 15 minutes. I'm going to put it in the cold jaws. I'm going to turn one side flat and sand it. Then I'm going to take it, I'm going to use a faceplate here. I'm going to glue brown paper on it. I'm going to put the faceplate on the spindle. With this ring still in the cold jaws, I'm going to mount it to the tailstock and glue it onto the brown paper. So first thing I'm going to do is put this in the cold jaws and flatten it. I've got one side turned flat. I'm going to take the cold jaws off and mount them on this live center so I can put it in the tailstock. Then I'm going to take the faceplate, which I've got brown paper glued on. I've just got a ring of glue around it. And I'm going to mount it on the spindle, and then I'm going to bring both together and glue the ring to the brown paper. The faceplate's remounted. The cold jaws are on the live spindle. Put a little bit of glue on them. Don't take a whole lot. Put it in the tailstock. Bring it up. Spin it around a little bit. Spread the glue out some. Clamp it down. We're just going to let it set a while. Then I'll be ready to flatten the other side of the ring and get it ready to take segments. The bottom ring now is mounted to the faceplate. The glue's dried. I'm going to turn this face flat. Then I'm going to put the sanding block on it and sand it flat. It's turned flat now. but not flat enough. I'm going to chalk it and put the sanding board on it and get it really flat. Just chalk it. Now I'm going to sand it with a sanding board really flat. It's sanded now, perfectly flat, ready to take the first row of open segments. I'm going to use my gluing platform to glue them on. I made a video on how to build this gluing platform. In my first video on getting started, I explain a lot more on how to cut the segments, how to use a gluing platform, etc. I've got gonna use the 32 index wheel because I'm using 16 segments per ring. Using the 32 index wheel, I'm going to use the red indexes for the even numbered rings and the blue indexes for the odd numbered rings, or vice versa. Don't make any difference. So I'll use this for 1, 3, and 5 rings, and this for 2, 4, and 6 rings. But I've got to change this and put the 32 index wheel on. Take this one off. Somebody come into my shop once and told me, they said, well, those index wheels can't be real super accurate. And I agreed with him. I said, no, they're not. I said, but I'm not building rocket engines either. I'm making segmented turnings. And as it works out, they're pretty doggone accurate for segmented turnings. I've had real good luck. No problems at all. Get this locked down tight. And all I have to do now is cut some segments. I'll go ahead and show that from another angle. But if you want to know a lot more about how I cut segments, then you need to see the video on getting started. I've got some material prepped to cut segments with. The segments are going to be 3/4 of an inch in height. And I cut these just a little bit more than 3/4. The reason being, after I cut the segments, I'm going to put finish on the sides I just cut, on the angled sides. And then after they dry, I'm going to take the segments to the disc sander and using my sled and a push stick with a stop block that's set for 3/4 of an inch, I'm going to sand both sides down to the 3/4 of an inch. That'll give me clean, flat gluing surface, and it'll clean all the finish it's got on that surface off. So I'm going to use 16 segments per ring. The pattern, I'm going to start the pattern from the top of the centerpiece and go up. Then I'm going to make a mirror image going down, but there's only going to be 2 rows of segments, so it won't show too much. I just got to remember which row to use on these. So I'm going to cut segments for the first row here on the bottom, which happens to be 6 inch in diameter. So I'm going to cut segments for a 6 inch row. 16 open segments, it's 6 inch, it's 70% segments. There's going to be 0.8354, and they're going to be cut at 7.875 degrees. So I'll set up my sled to cut them. If you want to see more of how I cut and prepare segments, again, watch the first video I made called Getting Started. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut 16 segments. And looking at the pattern here, the row I need, which would be the second row up, I am going to need 8 purple heart, and I'm going to need 4 yellow heart, and I'm going to need 4 of this, hormigo they call it. So I'm going to go ahead and set up and cut the segments. I put finish on these cut surfaces on these sides right here that I just cut. That way, later, when I got all the pieces glued on the turning, I don't have to go in with Q-tips and put finish on all of them. And if you don't have finish on these cut sides, mostly they're in grain, the turning just don't look right. With a lot of wood, you can see a real color difference. And I just use shellac and a sponge to put finish on them. It don't have to be shiny. It just has to make the color difference. Now you can see the difference between one I just put finish on and one I haven't. So I'm going to do that to all 16 of them. But when I do that, of course, I get finish on this side, and this side, which is going to be the glue surfaces. So that's why I put it on the disc sander and sand it down to 3/4 of an inch to clean it up and get a good flat surface. Shellac's dry. It don't take very long, just a few minutes. Now what I'm going to do is take them to the disc sander with a push block. I'm going to sand one side just enough to clean it up. Then I'm going to turn it over and sand the other side all the way down to the stop block that I got set for 3/4 of an inch. So it'll end up 3/4 of an inch with both sides clean and flat and ready to glue on. So now I've got both sides sanded flat, smooth and clean, and I got them sanded to a thickness of 3/4 of an inch, so they're all the same. Now I got them lined up here, and the sequence are going to be glued on in according to the pattern. Double check it, make sure it's right. So these are all ready now to be glued on. This ring's going to be 6 inches in diameter, so I got my stop block set for 3 inches from the center line I got marked. I got my index wheel set and locked so that the first segment falls right over one of the joints on the bottom ring, right across the joint. So now I'm ready to glue it on. What I'm going to do, using Tight Bond 2, even though it's a Tight Bond 1 bottle, put a very thin layer. Don't need much glue at all. If you use too much, you got squeeze out, and then you got to wipe it. But if you put a thin layer on, you don't get enough squeeze out to worry about wiping it up. Very thin layer of glue on it. If you can see it, I don't know. Line it up. Hold it down for 15 seconds. Rotate it out of the way. And go to the next index, which happen to be using red. I'm going to the second red index. So now I'm ready to glue up the second one. And I'll glue all 16 on just like that. 16 of them are glued on now. I glued them onto a flat surface that I had sanded as flat as I could get it. All the segments were sanded smooth and flat on both sides, exactly the same height. If I put a ruler across them, they look perfectly flat. You'd think they're flat enough to glue on the next row now. However, they're not. So what I'm going to do is chalk them now. I'm going to chalk all of them. So even though they look flat enough, they're not. Not if you want good glue joints and you want it to hold together. So right now I'm just going to chalk it and then let the glue set for a while, about 15 minutes. It's been a little over 15 minutes. I'm going to do now is use the sanding board. I'm going to sand it just a little bit and then show you that there'll still be some blue left in spots. You can see that this one here in particular a little bit higher than the rest. So it's coming off first. So I'm going to have to sand it down quite a bit more. Now, some of them are clean, some of them still got blue on them. So I'm going to still have to sand it down some. I'm going to go ahead and sand it down until they're all cleaned up. Now the chalk is all sanded off and it's truly flat. I can go ahead and prepare the next ring and glue it on. So I'll go ahead and get ready and cut the next ring and get it ready to glue on. I got the bottom on, I got the first ring on. So now I'm going to make the second ring, which of course is this ring right here. And it's going to be a 5-inch diameter ring. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut the pieces following the pattern and prepare them the same way as I did the first ring. Nothing different. So no use showing that. I'm just going to go ahead and do it just the same way. I've got the rings for the second segment prepared. And I've got them lined up according to the pattern. I check it and then I double check it, make sure they're lined up according to the pattern. Now I got to set up the lathe to glue them on. This ring is a 5-inch ring, so I got my stop block set 2.5 inches from my center line. I've got it set up for the first segment. Checked it where the first segment's supposed to go. Double checked it again, make sure I get it in the right spot. I'm using this time the blue indexes. Last time I used a red, this time I'm using the blue indexes. So again, I'm just going to glue them up just like I did the first row. A thin layer of glue. I don't want much glue at all. Just a very, very thin layer of glue. And I'm going to hold it on there for 15 seconds. "15 seconds, that's it. Now I'm going to move it out and set it on the next index and go ahead and glue the next piece on. So I'm just going to glue them all on all the way around. The second row is on. I'm going to chalk it now and then I'm going to let it set for 15 minutes. Then I'll get the sanding board and flatten this one out. Get it ready. The next piece I'm going to glue on is the center piece that I prepared. So it'll be the next piece to go on. These still have to be perfectly flat to glue it on. I'm just chalking the areas that's going to be actually glued. You can see just outside here won't actually be glued, just the inside. So I got it chalked. I'm going to let it set for 15 minutes. The second ring has been sanded flat. So now I'm ready to put in the base piece, the center piece here, that I've already prepared. It's the first thing I did. And I've got that piece mounted in the coal jaws, got the live center on it, so I'm going to put it in a tailstock. And I'm going to put a little glue on each segment, just a little bit on each segment, and bring the tailstock up. Okay, clean off my glue spreader. Bring it up. Bring it up close. And then just clamp her down. Okay, we'll let that sit a while. This has been glued on. I turned it just a little bit more on the center and flattened it again. I started turning the edge of the center piece. I got a nice curve in it now. It's easier to do now than if I wait and do it later. So I just turned that piece. Now I'm ready to put on the first row of the top part. So I'm going to cut some segments and prepare them, and then I'll put them on. I got the segments cut and lined up for the next row. The next row, of course, will be the first row on the top part. Now it's the exact same diameter as the last row on the bottom. In fact is, it's the same pattern. It's the same size pieces. So it's really just a duplicate of the last ring, and I'm going to go ahead and get them glued on. That was quick and easy, putting them on. Just like before, I got them chalked. I'll wait 15 minutes and sand them. I'll be ready for the other row. Now you'll notice they're a mirror image of the row on the other side. So I'm just going to keep adding rows, being mindful of the pattern and the positioning and the size until I get to the top. I'm not going to show all of that. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I've got the bottom turned into the first ring, so I'm going to go ahead now and just add more rings on it. And I'll turn a little bit more on the inside as I get more rings added on. The last row of open segments has been put on now. And you'll notice as they get wider, get bigger rings, the segments get bigger, but also the spaces get bigger here. Now with this pattern and the shape, I could have went ahead and added more open segment rings and just continue the pattern on and made it bigger had I wanted to. But I'm going to stop right here, and I'm making the solid ring to go on top now be a 12-inch ring, and I made it the same way I make the bottom ring. And I'll prepare it to put on. I haven't finished turning the inside yet. It'll be easy to get to on this one, so it's no problem. So I turned it way down in here, but I haven't turned it out here yet. I think what I'm going to do is put the closed segment ring on, round it, and then put the steady rest on. Just make me feel a little better about turning the inside. And you will also notice by using the index wheel on the lathe that they're all perfectly aligned and they're all perfectly centered. And like I said, this is 16 segments per ring. I've got index wheels I've made for other 24 segments, 32 segments, 20 segments. You can make a index wheel for any number of segments you want. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish up the solid ring, and then I'll get back when I put it on. I've got a 12-inch Macassar ebony ring built, 16 segments of course. I put it through the drum sander to get it basically flat. Now what I'm going to do now is put the sanding board on it, make sure that it's absolutely flat before I glue it on. And of course, I made a video on how to make the basic segmented ring, so if you got any questions about that, I got a video on it. I got it on the Koja extensions because it's a 12-inch ring. So I'm going to go ahead and just sand it flat. I put the sanding board on it some, and you can see it's not perfectly flat out of the drum sander. There's still spots around where there's chalk. So I'm going to go ahead and sand it some more until all the chalk's gone and it's perfectly flat. The ring has been sanded flat. Now I've got it mounted on a live center. I'm going to put it in the tailstock. Now I'm going to put glue on each segment. Now I'm just going to bring the tailstock up and clamp them together. I'm going to make sure the joints on the solid ring segments fall right in the middle of one of these open segments. So I'm just going to go ahead and start putting glue on them. Okay. Just bring this up. Get real close. Line it up. And just clamp her down. Make sure the joints falling right over the segment. Clamp it down a little. And let's let it dry for a while. The glue's dried enough now on this ring. So what I'm going to do now, I've got a faceplate mounted on the live center and the tailstock. I'm just going to bring it up just to hold it. It's enough to stabilize it. Bring it up and clamp it down. That'll be enough to stabilize it so I can turn this ring round. Then I'm going to put the steady rest on it and finish the inside. I got this turned round, so I'm going to put the steady rest on it. Not that I really need it, but I'm going to put it on anyway. I got the steady rest on it now, so I'm going to go ahead and finish turning the inside, sand it, probably put finish on it. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Well, I got the inside about like I want it. I'm going to go ahead and sand it through all the grits. Now I did a video just on sanding, so I ain't going to show that. I'm just going to go through all the grits and sand it. The inside's been sanded all the way up, including these Scotch-Brite pads. Now I'm ready to put finish on the inside now. The inside's got finish on it now, so I'm just going to let the finish dry for a while before I do the outside. The inside's finished. I tried putting the cone in it and bringing it up, but because of the angle of it, the cone just don't fit right. So what I'm doing, I got this faceplate. It's actually my vacuum faceplate. It's got some sponge on it. I'm bringing it up, and it'll hold it enough to stabilize it pretty good. help me turn the outside, make it a little easier. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn the outside now. The outside's been turned, all except for the very lip here and the bottom here where it's on the faceplate. I'll do those later. I'm going to sand most of it right now. Then I'll go ahead and finish turning and sanding it here. Then I'll finish the outside. After that, I'll reverse it and finish up the foot, the inside and lip here. I turned it and sanded as much as I could with the faceplate up against here. Now I'm going to finish turning the very edge here and sand it. And I'm going to put finish on the outside before I turn it over and do the bottom. Okay, I've got it all finished on the lip here. Got it all sanded. I'm ready to put my finish on it. My favorite finish. And after it dries, I'll turn it over and do the bottom. I'm just going to let it dry now. Then I'll be able to turn it over and do the foot. So I've got the edge tape now so that I can mount it on the coal jaws to reverse it. I got to take it off the faceplate. I got a brown paper, so I've got this tool. Just a few taps will take it off, get the paper to tear, and once paper starts tearing, it comes right off. This is just semi-sharp, it ain't really sharp. So I'm going to show that in a minute. I'll remove it from the lathe, it takes off. I need to take this off of the faceplate where the brown paper is. So just a few good taps of this. Get it right on the seam. Should start coming off. There it goes. There it goes. You can hear the paper tearing now. There it is, it's off. So now I got to put it onto the faceplate. Or not the faceplate, the coal jaws rather. I've got it mounted in the coal jaws. I've got the tailstock up in there. I should be able to get in there and turn it. Not, if I can't get all the way in, I'm going to have to move the tailstock out of the way. But I hope I can get in there. I've got the bottom turned. Now I'm going to have to sand it. I think I'm going to take the tailstock away to sand it. These tapered pins should hold it good enough for that. Well, there you have it, the footed open segment fruit bowl. The pattern ain't all that good, but it's okay, I guess. It looks different from this direction than it does from this direction, but that's okay. Got the bottom finished and signed. Got finish put on it, sanded and finished. And it wasn't all that hard a project. Just a quick recap here on what I did. I didn't show how to make a solid rings because I have a video on 3 different ways to make the solid rings on my channel. I also didn't explain much on the index wheels because I also have a video on how to make and use them. Even though they look real crude, they work perfect. So if you need to know more about them, there's a video. I also have a video on my channel on the gluing platform I use. So if you have any questions on that, there's a video on it. And I want to thank all the people that have subscribed to my channel and all the people that have viewed my videos. And I hope you come back and view some more. And I'm thinking on changing the channel name. It will not affect anybody that's already subscribed. But the way it is now, it's hard to find the channel. They're just using my name. I think I'm going to change it to Earl Small Segmenting Shop. But like I say, it won't affect anybody that's already subscribed. I'm going to leave my email down here. And I think I'll also put the new channel name on here also. So I appreciate you watching, and I hope you come back and see some more of my videos. Thank you.